With HDB prices hitting almost 900,000 today, should you be buying a HDB or should you shift your attention to condos? Today, we'll deep dive into the figures to figure out what's best for you in terms of the HDBs, in terms of your condos. Let's go! So to me, I always encourage my HDB owners to upgrade to condos as soon as they can, because a lot of times what I plan for my clients is how do we get a bigger retirement sum when they really want to retire. So by going to a condo, essentially they can possibly make more profits in a shorter period of time, and then from there we can roll it multiple times so that their retirement sum can be as big as possible. In February this year, 2025, HDB launched 10,622 flats. 8 out of 10 of these BTO flats have a waiting time of 4 years or less. So the reason why I'm sharing this is because there is an option of going for another BTO if you are eligible for it. So for first timers, you might want to consider this because first off, you got your first timer grants. Second, these are subsidized flats. So the essence of it is that these are cheaper than your resale flats. First thing first, cheaper. Second is that when you exit, there is going to be a certain amount of profits and protection in a sense. Typically for BTOs for the last 20-30 years, almost all BTOs make money. So this is a very safe route if in the event that you want to use the BTO as a stepping stone to go to maybe your next bigger HDB or your next bigger condo. Some of these HDBs, they are cheaper because in terms of their locations, they're a bit more far out. If you're looking for something a bit more central, you might not have so many options. Even if you do, it likely would fall under the new classifications of being either the Plus project or the Prime projects, which they have very different regulations when you want to sell and when you can even sell these kind of new HDBs. So today I'm not going to deep dive too much into the differences. Today is more about what's the main difference between getting a HDB first or getting a condo first, and which might actually suit certain types of clients. So before I ramble on more about this, do help me to like this video if you know anyone that can benefit from this as well. So to give everyone a bit of context, there are 3 things to take note of. First off, HDB prices are at record highs. Number 2, the new launch condos are getting really expensive. However, there is a narrowing gap between the resale HDBs and the resale condos. So lastly, what we're going to compare today is more of your resale HDBs versus your resale condos. So we're going to do this in a couple of ways. First is from an investment standpoint. Second is from a timeline standpoint. So we're going to use real figures to actually see what's the differences as well. So from the latest HDB stats in February, for the Queenstown 4-room flats, they're starting at about 541,000. The resale HDBs there have already gone up to 1.2 mil. For Bedok South, the 4-room flats are starting from about 423,000 all the way to 572,000. The flats in Bedok in the resale market have already hit the 1 mil mark. As you can see, the prices in the resale HDB market actually has been going up very rapidly. So the government has actually been wanting to try to maybe slow down the increase over the past few years. Some of the things they've done, they've increased the grants for resale HDBs. They've also increased the supply in terms of BTOs. So just to give you an example, in 2025, the HDB has already promised to launch 25,000 new BTOs. So the whole purpose of why HDB wants to do this is because 77% of Singaporeans still stay in HDBs. So the HDB is essentially still a public housing, and it has to remain affordable such that people can afford a roof above their head. Not everyone is fortunate enough to go straight to an EC or maybe a private condo. So a lot of us will actually have to start off with a HDB as a stepping stone. After that, if our income and salary permits, how much we make from the property, there is that possibility to reach the condos, your ECs as well. So if you're looking to upgrade from your condos, feel free to look at my other videos about how you can upgrade from your condo to multiple properties or your condo to a landed. But in today's video, we're just going to focus more on your resale HDBs and your resale condos. So there's a few things you need to take into account if you're going to buy a BTO. 3 main things I'm going to cover. First is that if you're going to buy a BTO and you want to buy another BTO after that, you will have to pay a levy. Number 2, if you are going to buy a BTO, you can also possibly take grants if you are within the income ceiling. Of course, this one you have to go and do your proper checks, especially in your HFE in today's market. Then from there, you can actually get a better idea how much you can purchase in terms of your BTO. Number 3, when you're buying a BTO, it's going to come very bare. So it's going to be like this wall, all white, all bare. Essentially, you're going to have to spend quite a bit on rentals. My clients that collected BTOs maybe about 5 to 8 years ago, the average rental cost maybe about 40 to 60,000, they can easily do the entire house. But today, for most of my clients that I'm talking to when they collect keys for their BTO, it's easily 60 to 80 to 90,000, depending on how many things they want to do in the house. Pricing about 500 plus thousand, you plus another 80, 90,000, the price goes up to 600, 700,000 already. These are small things you also have to take into account when you're buying a BTO. Okay, so now we're gonna explore investment potential. First off, for HDB, look at three main things. First, your HDB has a 5-year MOP lock-in. Second, you have restrictions on selling and renting out. During your MOP, even after your MOP, there might be certain restrictions. It could be based on the EIP program that HDB has. And third, there might also be limited upside potential, especially now when we're starting to see the government is pumping a lot of supply back into the HDB market to try to hold prices down and make it more sustainable. Okay, for condo, 4 main things that we look at. First, you can rent or sell after TOP. Even if your 3-year SSD hasn't been met, you can already start to either rent or sell if there is a need to. Number 2, there is rental income immediately upon completion if it's a resale property. If it's a new launch property, immediately once you collect key at TOP, you can rent it out. Number 3, there is more potential capabilities in terms of a condo as compared to a HDB. Number 4, there is more flexibility to exit and possibly upgrade as well. Okay, so for timeline for an investment in terms of a HDB, what you want to take note is that HDB building time takes about 4 to 5 years in today's market. It takes another 5 years to MOP. So when you add everything up, you're going to come up to about 9 to 10 years. Only then can you actually exit and actually see your profits made from the HDB. So for a condo, if it's a new condo, typically it takes about 3 to 4 years for it to build to TOP, which is collect keys. What you want to take note is that some people actually sell their properties before they collect keys. The SSD is actually 3 years. So you keep the property from when you buy all the way to 3 years later. After that 3-year mark, you can actually sell without being taxed. So the government actually came out with this so that people don't flip immediately. Another thing about condos is that after your TOP, you can immediately rent it out as well. So if you're not going to sell it yet, you can potentially rent it out for more profits, as well as a shorter waiting period in terms of your exit strategy. So to me, it's always about how fast can you make the money. Because there are instances where, hey, this property can make $1 million. But it took the owner 20 years to make $1 million. You go and divide by 20 years, per year you're only making $50,000. Versus a property that made you, let's say, $300,000 in 3 years. You go and divide by 3 years, every year you're going to earn $100,000. In terms of ROI, that makes more sense. So it's always about how fast you can make that money and how fast you can reach that next level of the property investment. I had a client about 7-8 years ago. So kids were growing up, they need more space, they want a bigger house. Very typical, right? So from a 4-room flat, they contacted me, they wanted to buy a 5-room flat or EA in Tampines. If they actually went down that route, first is that in the last about 8 years, the EA or the 5-room would have made them money, but it would only have made them about 400,000. If they were to buy the EA, they definitely would renovate the house because the EAs that they were looking at were generally a bit older. An EA is one of the biggest HDBs you can find in Singapore, so the renovation cost will at least be another 100,000. Their renovation cost of 100,000 would have eaten up into their profits. But instead of doing that, I shared with them, okay, if you're looking to maybe get a bigger house eventually, we can look at other routes to do it, as well as how do we have more for your retirement. So what they did instead was to sell their 4-room flat. They bought a 3-bedroom condo in District 19. Within 3 years, they exited it with about 300,000+ worth of profits. After that, we actually sold that property. We got them to buy 2 properties. So they bought 1 new property, which we just sold it for them as well. They made another about 350,000. In the other property, it was a smaller property, so they only made about 200,000. Total, they made about 900,000. So first you need to take note is that you have more flips if they were to buy a condo. Second is that because the condo quantums are higher as well, they also make more. So if you go and compare just for these 2 comparisons, if they would go to a HDB, they would have only earned about 400,000. You less off your 100,000 of reno, you're talking about maybe 300,000. Because they went to condo route, they actually made 900,000. Even if you less off your renovation costs, another 150,000, they still easily made 700 to 800,000, which definitely is more than the HDB route. So to me, it's always about how much can we actually grow our wealth through property, how much capital can we continue to grow through property as well. So the next property they're going to buy, we already set aside a budget of about 2.5 mil. So at 2.5 mil budget, 75% loan, the max loan amount they can take up to 1.875 mil. Current age is about 40 years old, so they can take a loan tenure of up to about 25 years. Current lowest interest rate is about 2.4%, so their monthly installment is about 8,003. Both of them are actually working, both of them are still contributing to their CPF. So you take 8,003 minus both of their CPF contributions, every month their installment should be about 6,000-ish. Very, very affordable to them. So in terms of the down payments, what we're going to look at is 5% cash, 125,000, 20% cash and CPF, 500,000. So your total expenses in terms of your stamp duty, 94,600. In terms of your legal fees, $3,000. Your total outlay will be $722,600. So just now I mentioned pure profits. We don't even talk about their CPF, their savings. Just from their pure profits itself, we're talking about 900,000. 900,000 is more than enough for their total outlay of 722,600. So to me, this makes a lot of sense. Is this safe? For sure. Just from the 900,000 itself, it can cover this total down payment. Plus, they still have their CPF in their OA accounts, and they also have their cash savings that we're not touching at all. So in conclusion, the HDB itself is still a very viable option for anyone that needs stability. You just need a roof above your head. But if you're talking from investment standpoint, then maybe you might not want to consider the HDB. Condos give you a lot more flexibility. Condos in terms of quantum, because it's higher, potentially you can earn a lot more money as well. So I've helped many clients plan their property journey based on their income, based on their family needs, based on their wants, based on their objectives. If you want to find out more about your options, just reach out. So if you found this video useful, please help like, share and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye!